Hello and welcome back to Shakesyear. We are working on Richard III, and today we get to hear from the Duke of Clarence, whose first name happens to be George, in Act 1, Scene 4. It is also important to note that Richard at this point is the Duke of Gloucester. And this is important to note because Richard had planted in King Edward's mind the idea that somebody whose name starts with G is going to be the undoing of King Edward. And King Edward took that to mean George, even though it could have been Gloucester, and had George, otherwise known as Clarence, sent to the Tower to be imprisoned there. And Richard is trying to get Edward to up the stakes or become even more suspicious of him, so that Edward will issue a warrant for Clarence's death. Since that hasn't quite happened yet, and Edward is quite sick, though maybe a little bit better, and he wants everybody to reconcile before he dies, Richard has also hired a couple of assassins to go and kill Clarence in the Tower, just to make sure that he dies, because he needs him to die. And Richard warned the assassins on the way to not listen to anything that Clarence has to say. Once they get there, just get there and kill him. And they're like, yeah, of course we will. So Act 1, Scene 4, we start out in the Tower, and Clarence is disturbed because he had a really bad dream the night before. So he's telling this really bad dream to the gatekeeper, the jailkeeper, the keeper of the Tower. He's telling him the dream, and he says, "Methoughts that I had broken from the Tower and was embarked to cross to Burgundy, and in my company my brother Gloucester, who from my cabin tempted me to walk upon the hatches. There we looked toward England, and sighted up 1,000 heavy times during the wars of York and Lancaster that had befallen us. As we paced along upon the giddy footing of the hatches, methought that Gloucester stumbled, and in falling struck me that thought to stay him overboard into the tumbling billows of the main. Oh Lord, methought what pain it was to drown, what dreadful noise of water in mine ears, what sights of ugly death within mine eyes. Methoughts I saw 1,000 fearful racks, 1,000 men that fishes gnawed upon, wedges of gold, great anchors, heaps of pearls, inestimable stones, unvalued jewels, all scattered in the bottom of the sea. Some lay in dead men's skulls, and in the holes where eyes did once inhabit, there were crept, as 'twere in scorn of eyes, reflecting gems that wooed the slimy bottom of the deep and mocked the dead bones that lay scattered by." So this isn't his full dream. We're going to hear more about his dream tomorrow, at which point then we can postulate on what the symbolism of the whole dream is. But what he's saying is he had a dream that he escaped from the Tower, and he and Richard, otherwise known as the Duke of Gloucester, were on a boat, and Richard told Clarence to come for a walk out on the boat, and he's walking along, and Richard starts to fall. So Clarence goes to help him, and in his flailing, Clarence/George gets thrown overboard instead of Richard, and he starts describing what he's seeing as he's drowning, and he sees riches beyond imagination at the bottom of the sea. And the jailkeeper is like, wait a second, as you're drowning, you had enough time to stop and look around and take in the sights? And George is like, well, I didn't think I was going to. I thought that I was just gonna die, but something wouldn't let my soul leave my body, so I stayed awake while I was drowning in my dream. And the jailkeeper's like, whoa, ew. And the response to that is tomorrow's monologue. So we'll dig into that then. But I will see you tomorrow for more when we get to do some dream interpretation. Woohoo! Mwah.